The translation. The translation goes like this. Goddess, O goddess, worshipped by the kings of sages. O goddess, who remove the sufferings of the three worlds. O goddess, whose face is a blossoming lotus. O goddess, who enjoy pastimes in the forest. O daughter of Rishabhanu, O companion of Raja's prince, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess staying in a wine cottage by an Ashoka tree, O goddess whose delicate feet are as splendid as red blossoms, O goddess whose hand grants fearlessness, O abode of transcendental opulences, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess, who playfully shooting the arrows of your glances from the curved bows of your auspicious amorous eyebrows, have completely subdued Nanda's son Krishna, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess, whose form is as splendid as champaka flowers, gold and lightning. O goddess, whose face eclipses millions of autumn moons. O goddess, whose eyes are wonderful, restless young chakora birds. When will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O young girl intoxicated with passion, O goddess decorated with cheerful jealous anger, O goddess who passionately love your beloved Krishna, O goddess learned in playful arts, O goddess expert at enjoying amorous pastimes in the kingdom of the fearlessly opulent forest groves of Vrindavana, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess decorated with a pearl necklace of gold amorous hills, O goddess as fair as gold, O goddess whose breasts are great golden waterfalls, O ocean of happiness filled with the scented powders of gentle smiles, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess whose arms are lotus stalks dancing on the waves, O goddess whose dark eyes are dancing vines, O playful, beautiful, charming goddess, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess, who wear a golden necklace on the three-line conchal of your neck. O goddess, splendid with 3 jasmine garlands and 3 jeweled necklaces. O goddess, whose moving locks of dark hair are decorated with bunches of flowers. When will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess, who wear a sash of flowers on your curved hips. O goddess, charming with a sash of tinkling jeweled bells. O goddess, whose beautiful thighs furnish the regal elephant's trunk. When will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess, whose anklets tinkling is more beautiful than the sounds of many mantras and the cooing of many regal swans. O goddess, whose graceful motions mock the moving golden vines, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O goddess worshipped by Brahma, O goddess to whom countless millions of Vaishnavas bow down. O goddess who give blessings to Parvati, Shachi, and Saraswati. O goddess whose toenails are anointed with limitless opulences and mystic perfections, when will you cast your merciful sidelong glance upon me? O queen of Vedic sacrifices, O queen of pious activities, O queen of the material world, O queen of the demigods, O queen of Vedic scholarship, O queen of knowledge, O queen of the goddesses of fortune, O queen of patience, O queen of Vrindavana, the forest of happiness, O queen of Raja, empress of Raja, O Sri Radhika, obeisances to you. Upon hearing this most astonishing prayer of mine being recited by a devotee, may Sri Vrishabhanu Nandini constantly make him the object of her most merciful sidelong glance. At that time, all his karmic reactions, whether mature, fructifying, or lying in seed, will be completely destroyed, and then he will gain entrance into the assembly of Nandanandana's eternal loving associates. If a sadhaka with purified intelligence recites this stava with a fixed mind on the lunar days known as the full moon day, the bright Ashtami, the Dashami, the Ekadashi, and the Trayodashi, then each and every one of his desires will be fulfilled one by one. And by the merciful sidelong glance of Sri Radha, he will obtain devotional service that has the special symptom of being imbued with pure ecstatic love of God, prema. That sadhaka who recites this stava 100 times while standing in the waters of Sri Radha Kund up to his thighs, navel, chest, or neck will attain complete perfection, the 5 goals of human existence, namely Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and Prema. He also will attain the power by which everything he says will come true. He becomes very powerful and opulent due to attaining transcendental majesty, and he gets to meet Sri Radhika face to face, seeing her even with his present eyes. By such chanting of this prayer in Radha Kunda, Sri Radhika becomes so pleased that she instantly bestows a great benediction on the devotee, which is that he sees her beloved Shyama Sundara with his very own eyes. Then that Lord of Vrindavana grants the devotee entrance into his eternal pastime. Genuine Vaishnavas hanker for nothing beyond this. Thus ends the Sri Radhikaya Kripa Kataksha Stotram found in the Urdhvamnaya Tantra. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. It is a very, very, very famous stotra in Vrindavan. And this stotra, this is being sung by Lord Shiva for Sri Radhika. With this, let us start with today's class. Welcome all the devotees. Now, before we start the class, we'll offer our prayers to the Guru Parampara. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunnilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Supadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Tajivam Sadvaitam Sapadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhya Cha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhya Namo Namah. Now we'll offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana. Namo Mahapadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurativise Namah. O most beneficent incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Krishna Bannam Tisha Krishnam Sangopanga Parsadam Yagya Sankirtana Praye Rejayanti Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Shastra Vicharanake Nipunam Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Trivavane Manya Saranya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Vajana Nanadena Mattaliko Bande Rupa Sanatana Ragujugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the divine couple, Sri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I welcome all the devotees once again. Thank you very much for joining. Today we are will be learning lesson 15, which is very important, and all your doubts will be cleared today. We have been studying about the anartha. Now, how the anartha will be cleared, at what stage, this will be cleared today. This is very important. Please be very attentive. But before we start the class, we will hear the synopsis of the class, which was covered yesterday night, that is as per the Indian time, that is lesson 14. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, last night we did lesson 14, which further elaborated on the Nama Aparadhas. We started with text 3G about the Jivas who are not invested in the Lord's Aishwarya Shakti. These are Gyanis who merge in Brahman. It is deplorable because they are unable to relish any of the qualities of Brahman. These are of two types. First, the ones merging in Nirguna Brahma or Brahma Sayujya. While containing no variety, it is the abode of variegated qualities, forms, and pastimes. And second, the ones merging in the Saguna Brahma or Ishwarya Sayujya, merging with the form of the Lord. This one is more pitiable than merging with the bodily effulgence. This is also called spiritual suicide. Best is the bhakta who relishes the sweetness of the forms, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Bhagwan, which is laudable. The jivas that are invested in Lord's Aishwarya Shakti are of two types. One, the ones who are invested in the Lord's Jnana Shakti, like the four Kumaras and the Leela Avtaras. And two, the ones who are invested in the creative potency and aspect of Maya, such as Lord Brahma and the Guna Avtaras. Of the 10 Nama Aparadhas, the second, that is to consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu, was covered in great detail. The whole idea was to remove the confusion of the position of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. So, although the two tattvas, that is the Shiva tattva and the Vishnu tattva, are non-different, only Sri Vishnu is to be worshipped. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the sole object of worship for an unalloyed devotee is only Sri Vishnu and not Shiva, based on the criteria of who is Nirgunatva or Sagunatva. Although Shiva Tattva is Aishwarya Chaitanya, it willingly accepts Tamoguna. Hence, he is a Guna Avatar. He comes from Sri Sadashiva. Sri Sadashiva is transcendental to material nature and is a special expansion of Sri Krishna himself. Lord Sadashiva resides in Sadashiv Loka, which is above the causal ocean and beyond Maya, while the Guna Avatara Shiva resides on Mount Kailash. But to think that Vishnu Tattva and Shiva Tattva are non-different, then it's the second offense to the holy name. The real atonement to this aparadha is remorse. If one performs Nama Sankirtana with repentance, exclusively taking shelter of Harinam, then this offense may be eradicated. As sins can be atoned for still easily compared to such offenses, as these are grave offenses. Hence, one should avoid such debate as both tattvas are respectable and divine. But only Vishnu tattva should be worshipped, given that Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. He is automatically worshipped while rendering worship to Lord Krishna. Not just Lord Shiva, but all the demigods are pleased by the worship of Lord Krishna. Sometimes a living entity invested with the potency of Bhagwan becomes Shiva. Just like Lord Brahma, Shiva is also sometimes classed as Jiva. Further, the fourth offense, which is blasphemy of the revealed Vedic literatures. Although devotees who follow the Shastras can never blaspheme Shastras, but if one blasphemes those Shrutis that provoke Karma Kanda and Jnana Yoga, then one commits the fourth offense. The Jnani's goal is Brahma Sayujya Mukti, which is devoid of variety. However, when they associate with a pure devotee, they become enchanted with the variegated nature of Bhagwan realization. This is the indirect intention of the Jnana-based Shruti, and so are the intention of the Karma-based Shruti. They understand that the result of karma are actually a source of misery. Eventually, by the mercy of sadhu, they will be blessed and they take shelter of the path of bhakti. For this reason, blasphemy of these shrutis, of these merciful shrutis, constitute an aparadha. And by sadhu sangha, the devotees to understand the actual intention of those shrutis and must then glorify them, which they blasphemed those previously. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the causes of the remaining 6 types of aparadha to the holy name and the means to mitigate them are to be understood in the same way as described for the first 4 aparadhas, which is 1, to blaspheme the saintly persons, 2, to consider Lord Shiva's name, form, and so forth as independent of those of Lord Vishnu, 3, to disobey the spiritual master, 4, to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures. He then explains the causes and aparadhas of 10 to 5, aparadhas 10 to 5, and the means to rectify them. And now today in lesson 15, we will dive further to learn about the anarthas that rise from bhakti and the means to eradicate. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for giving the synopsis. Now, we have in very great detail discussed the Shiva Tattva, which is not rightly understood by many people. Here, 2-3 things to be understood. Shiva is neither Jiva Tattva nor Vishnu Tattva, but in certain kalpas, even a Jiva is appointed as Shiva. That time, he is not Isvara. This has to be understood. Like this, Brahma also, Brahma is a Jiva Tattva, always. But in certain kalpas, when a person is not found, when a qualified person is not found, then Lord Hari himself, Lord Krishna himself, he comes as Lord Brahma. Then he is Isvara Tattva only, he is not Jiva Tattva that time. This has to be understood. Then the basic thing about the burning or dissipating our anarthas, the very basic principle is one should be remorseful and one should chant the name of the Lord incessantly. This is the only way. And the other things we have talked about. And also I reminded you of the most serious offenses, that is 1 and 7, the Vaishnava Aparadha. Never ever try to commit any Vaishnava Aparadha. This is very, very serious. And the next Aparadha, which is most serious, is committing sins on the strength of the holy name. These are very, very serious. And the others we have discussed in very, very great detail. And the last 5 offenses, we have asked, we have discussed in some detail yesterday. And thank you very much for asking so many questions in yesterday's and the previous class also. And like this, please ask as many questions as possible. All your doubts will be cleared. With this, let us start with today's class, that is lesson 14 and lesson 15. Now, lesson 15, what are the basic things we will be learning in this? The 5 stages of eradication of anarthas. Don't think that if you just repent and just chant the name of the Lord, everything will be dissipated. Yes, it will be dissipated, but at what time frame, what stage, that in very great detail we will be learning. Then another thing, we learn the offense of Chitraketu Maharaj is in truth not an offense. How Chitraketu Maharaj committed an offense against Lord Shiva, and how he was cursed by Parvati, and what thereafter what happened, he became Vritrasura, and all that we learn today. But basically what is being told here, that is not an offense actually. We'll see that. Then the Jai Vijay the incident, that also in Bhagavatam you know very clearly how they were cursed by the Kumaras, and they became Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu and all that. But they are also not at fault. They voluntarily accepted the unfavorable mood toward Bhagavan, and the Lord also himself, he accepted that. And the sequence, then we'll learn about the sequence in which anarthas arising from impious activities and bhakti are vanquished. Now, you have already learned how we earn, how we commit aparadhas, and the anarthas come into our life because of the sins of our past life and the good karma we do in this life and the other lives. But here, very interestingly, we learn about how after doing bhakti also, we also do some, we earn some anarthas also. But that is doing bhakti not properly, improper conduct of bhakti. That we'll see in detail. And how the anarthas they get vanquished, this we'll learn in very great detail. Oh, these are what the some of the things will you expect to learn today. Now, in this, in very brief, what will be learned are the anarthas that arise from the practice of bhakti. How the anarthas, we are practicing bhakti, and how the anarthas can come from practice of bhakti. This seems quite interesting, but this we will learn. Then the sequence in which anarthas arising from aparadha are vanquished. At what stage, like we have learned about the stages, Adau Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya Anartha Nivritti, like this till Prema. At what stage, which type of anartha gets vanquished, we'll see. And very interestingly, we'll see that these aparadhas, especially these Vaishnava aparadhas, they get dissipated and it takes the longest period of time and lot of efforts, maybe or many lifetimes it will take. Whereas the others, Duskrutina, the sins committed in the previous lives or good karma, all these things, they get dissipated very easily. At what stage and other things we'll see in this slide also, and with a chart also, and that should be understood by everybody. Then the third thing we'll see, Jay and Vijay voluntarily accepted an unfavorable mood toward Bhagavan. They wanted to fight with him, and the Lord also accepted that, because we know the Lord has got 6 opulences. There is nobody who is equal to him. But he also wants to pass time. He also wants that he should be under somebody's control. That's why he comes as son of Nanda and Yasoda. And here he wanted to fight. And that's why Jai Vijay also, they also developed that mentality. And that's why we are saying Jay and Vijay, they are not to be blamed for that. It was not an offense for them to stop the four Kumaras in the seventh gate of the Vaikuntha, because since they are guarding the gate, they have to take permission from their master. They did the right thing, but this thing happened. This is a teaching for us only. Then the next, we will see the Nama Prabhu conceals his power from offenders to the holy name, being displeased with them. If we keep on committing aparadhas, then the Nama Prabhu, as we know, the Nama, the Lord's name and the Lord, there is no difference between them. They are the same, and he conceals his power from the one who offends the name. That is, if you commit Nama Pradha, then the Lord will be very much displeased. You will not get what you want, and the progress will be very, very slow. And in some of the aparadhas, like the fourth aparadha which we learned yesterday, that is blaspheming the holy shastras, the holy literature, that is the Vedic literature. Don't think that they are less important. I have read yesterday only in one of the tantras it is given, if somebody does that, then he goes to the hell forever. He never comes back. Like this, these are very, very serious things. We should be extremely careful about committing any of these aparadhas. And then the next thing we'll learn, the offenders to name do not meet with the Yamaraja, but they cannot become purified. This is also very, very important. This Yamaraja is telling his messengers that anybody who chants the name of the Lord, who has got the Tulasi Kanthimala, who is wearing this Uddha Pundarka, they should not be brought to the Yamaloka ever. They never meet with Yamaloka, but they are also not purified. For purification, there is a process. They have to go through that. Otherwise, you remain where you are. Then the next is the sequence in which anarthas arising from impious activities and bhakti are vanquished. This in very great detail we will see. Then, as I was telling you, the offense of Chitraketu Maharaj is in truth not an offense. He offended Lord Shiva while Parvati was sitting on his lap, and he was lecturing, he was speaking to the sadhus, great sadhus there. Actually, that is not an aparadha, because he was also at that higher level and he was just joking with him, which was not understood by his wife. Then at the end, we will see the 5 stages of eradication of anarthas in very great detail. So that means today we will see very, very important things. Now, this is a summary slide. This is divided into 3 parts. This is part 1, anarthas that arise from practice of bhakti. This I was saying, we think how when we practice bhakti, how can we create anarthas in our life? This we'll see in a separate slide. And then this we'll see in a different slide, the 5 stages of eradication of anarthas. And the last portion, the sequence in which the anarthas arising from aparadha are vanquished, different types of aparadha, and how in what stage they get vanquished, they get dissipated, they get burnt. This we'll learn in different slide. Therefore, I'll go on to the first slide in this series. Now, the anarthas that arise from practice of bhakti. This is very, very important. Now, there are 4 types, as we have already learned, those arising from impious activities in our previous lives and this life also. This we have seen in very great detail. Then the next thing, those arising from pious activities, this also we have seen. Then those arising from offenses, the aparadhas, basically the nama aparadhas. We have seen the seva aparadhas also, all these things we have seen. And the 4th thing, we'll be discussing today those arising from bhakti. Now the author, that is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, has already described the first three and is now describing the fourth one. Such anarthas are known as bhakti uttha because they arise from imperfect practice of bhakti. Please remember, imperfect practice of bhakti. If you practice the bhakti perfectly as per Shastra, then there are no anarthas. But if it is imperfectly practiced, then anarthas arise from that. And how they are to be encountered, that we will learn. Now, those what are these? What are these the imperfections, and what are these anarthas? These awaken the hankering for wealth. When one becomes a devotee, he progresses on the path of devotional service. He would think that why shouldn't I have a greater amount of wealth? I should be very, very rich. I should have a big house. I should have this. I should have that, like this. Adoration. Then he will think, I'm giving lectures and so many people are listening to me. People should worship me because I am worshipable in front of everybody. And recognition, pratishtha, everybody should recognize me in the society and I should be very, very great. And it should come out in the TV, newspapers, and everybody should talk about me in the town like this. Now, all these things, they arise from the imperfect performance of bhakti, and the heart of the practitioner is tainted by their influence. Actually, out of all these, the most damaging is pratishtha. Now, you have learned the Shad Ripus, the six enemies of the heart, the Kama, Krodha, and all that. But please remember that one may be able to conquer them. But this pratishtha, this is very, very damaging. And this may still remain in somebody's heart. And if it remains there, then the heart of the devotee is tainted. And in this way, they grow so extensively that they can even stunt the main branch of the creeper of bhakti. We learned about the creeper of bhakti, how it grows in the heart, and it grows and grows till Golak Vrindavana. But that will get impeded because of our this anartha. Now, sometimes the parasitic creepers, the creeper of the desire for enjoyment or liberation sprout alongside the vine of devotion. When somebody is practicing devotional service, then the two things, the desire for enjoyment, he wants to enjoy in this world because he wants to have all the facilities and he wants to get involved in sense enjoyment, or he wants to get liberated. Why? Because he does not want to get involved in these all these problems which are coming to him. He should enjoy unhindered. That is what is by liberation. And the other meaning of liberation is, liberation means he wants to be liberated and merge with the Supreme Lords, like the two things we saw yesterday in his personal effulgence or in the Lord himself. Like this, actually, when they sprout in the vine of devotion, then they get totally destroyed. And these upasakas or these devotees, they are unlimited. They include forbidden behavior. Then when this thing comes in the heart of a devotee, how he behaves, they include forbidden behavior which are not authorized or not given in the Shastras. Then duplicity, he says something, means something else. Violence to other living entities, violence not only in terms of by beating him or firing at him, but in words also, desire for wealth, fame, recognition, which is spoken. They drink up all the water of the sadhakas, hearing and chanting. Now we have learned that this plant we are watering with hearing and chanting, and that is what is the water. But if we commit these aparadhas, then the water also dries up. And in this way, they are nourished and flourished while the growth of Bhakti Lata is impaired. Now, this Bhakti Lata, it does not grow. An intelligent devotee must uproot a parasitic creeper as soon as he spots it, so that the original vine of devotion may flourish and reach the lotus feet of Sri Krishna in Vrindavana. This is very, very important. Please remember this thing. If we come to know, rather, we will certainly come to know when these anarthas come in our heart, come in us, because our bhajan kriya will be totally affected, will not be attentive, and the mind will go somewhere else, and the chanting quality will come down like anything, and you will personally see it very, very clearly that this is what is the effect. And if that happens, then one should be very, very careful and take remedial actions. Otherwise, the plant, the devotional creeper, this will be totally destroyed. Like earlier, we knew about the Mattahathi, that offense. Now, the fourth portion is, even if one has relinquished everything else, the desire for recognition, which is the root cause of all anarthas, is extremely difficult to give up. Now, what the author is saying here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, even if one has done everything, still then this one, that is the desire for recognition. I should be recognized in the society, everybody should know me, everybody should worship me, they should show respect to me, like this. This is very, very bad thing to happen. For this reason, the practitioner is to remain extra vigilant to save himself from the stool of this desire. This is given in Haribhakti Vilasa. Haribhakti Vilasa is written by Sanatana Goswami. This is very, very important. We should be extremely careful. Otherwise, this will totally destroy the creeper and will be totally destroyed, or will not be able to progress in the path of bhakti. Then the next part of that slide which we saw, now the 5 stages of eradication. What are the various stages of eradication of the anartha? Now, we said that if you just repent and take the name of the Lord, they will get affected, and they will get annihilated or dissipated or burned. But there is a process also. This in detail we will know. Now the removal, nivritti of these 4 types of anarthas is being explained, which do not vanish immediately. We should not think that we are taking the name of the Lord and the anarthas will dissipate immediately. No, it does not happen that way. It may take many, many lifetimes also. But this is eradicated in the 5 stages. Ekadesha Vartini, or partial. Partial means very little, say about 5 to 10%, something like this. Bahudesha Vartini, or extensive. Extensive means say about 75%. It goes something like this. We'll see in what stage later on. Prayaki, or almost complete. Almost complete means something is still remaining. Say about 95% will go, but 5% will still remain. Then Purna, or complete. Complete means 100% complete. Then Atyantiki, or absolute, means at that stage there is no chance of its return. That means that is the final stage. Now we'll see how these 4 types of anarthas, they get dissipated at what stage and up to what portion of it gets dissipated. This we'll see in detail later on. Now the next slide. This is the third part of that slide which we saw. The sequence in which the anarthas arising from aparadha are vanquished. We saw about the aparadhas by an offense against Krishna or Krishna's dear devotee. even bhava will disappear. Now, if we commit an aparadha against Krishna or against the devotee, it is one and the same thing. Rather, when one commits an aparadha against a devotee, then Krishna is very, very serious. And he won't leave you just like that. If you criticize him, he may leave you, he may pardon you. But if you offend a Vaishnava, he is not going to leave you like that. He is very, very serious about this. That's why we have to be extremely serious about this. Now, after commencing the practice of devotional service, that is bhajan kriya, the eradication of anarthas arising from past aparadhas is partial. That is, the duskrutartha aparadhas, that is partial. That is the eradication of anarthas in bhajan kriya. Now, these things, what I am telling you, you please try to understand when we see them on the slide. That is in the chart form, this will be very, very clear, and at that time, please remember that. You just listen and try to understand what is being told here, given in the slide. And upon developing faith, that is nishtha, the eradication is extensive. And when one develops transcendental affection or rati for Sri Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, the eradication is almost complete. Almost complete is not 100%. It is almost complete. That means something is still remaining. And when the sun of love of Godhead, prema, arises, that is the prema stage, that is the final stage, that is a very, very high stage. Actually, if you ask, we are at what stage? We are maximum at the anartha nivriti stage. Now, the prema stage is very, very high, and it may take many, many lifetimes for us also. That's why let us try to dissipate our anartha by doing this bhakti and not commit any more aparadha. We should be extremely careful. This is the meaning of what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is trying to remind us through this Madhurya Kadambini. And when one obtains the lotus feet of Bhagavan, that is become his direct associate, the eradication of this anartha is absolute. That means when one transcends to the Dhama of the Supreme Lord, whether it is Golok Vrindavana or it is Vaikuntha or any other spiritual realm, then it becomes, it is totally absolute. That means, please remember, this is a very, very high stage, and we should be therefore very, very careful about this anarthas. And by an offense against Krishna or Krishna's dearest devotee, even bhava will disappear. If we keep on committing these aparadhas, then bhava will disappear if the offense is serious, and that bhava will become a shadow of bhava, that is the bhava bhasa. And if the offense is medium, and it will become bhava of a lesser category if the offense is slight. But in very gist, we should remember that we should not try to commit any aparadha whatsoever against any Vaishnava, because that is the biggest hindrance. And how do you know a Vaishnava? Because many may not have that insignia of a Vaishnava, but still they are great Vaishnavas. The learning is, do not commit any aparadha against anybody. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Saishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sadahari. There is, and earlier also we have discussed in our earlier classes, we should not criticize anybody. We should not contemplate or try to say something about anybody else whom we do not know, because we do not have that authority. The person who has got the authority, let him find fault with that person. Now, the teacher who is teaching us, or the spiritual master, or the senior Vaishnavas, they have got the responsibility to find faults with others. Let them do. We do not have. That's why should we commit any aparadha? Because that is extremely serious. And only when the Premi Bhakta receives the full mercy of Bhagavan and obtains direct darshan of him and the service to him does the absolute cessation or atyantik nivritti of aparadhatva and anarthas take place with no possibility of aparadha being committed again. Now, how it happens, how the Supreme Lord gives direct darshan to the devotee, this also happens in actually 4 stages. One is you see him in dream, that is also real. In dream state, you see the Supreme Lord, but don't think it is just like a dream. It is also real. Then the next stage in dhyana. In dhyana, the Lord will come and come naturally, not forcibly. The third stage is the direct darshan of the Lord. And the fourth stage is that devotee will see the Lord everybody, everywhere. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he used to see, and many other great devotees, they used to see the Lord everywhere. So that is the final stage. Now, just remember this, seeing the direct, having direct darshan of the Lord, that is such a higher stage. And in that stage only, all the anarthas, all types of anarthas, they get dissipated. And that means these anarthas, they are of what serious nature. This has to be understood by us, and we should try our best not to commit any aparadha. Now let us go on to the next slide. Now, the offense of Chitraketu Maharaj is in fact not an offense. Now, let us see this, and if there is time, I will tell the story in brief also for your recapitulation. After attaining Bhagavan Sankarsana, the cessation of anarthas arising from aparadha is absolute or atyantiki. This means that it is impossible to commit an aparadha to an exalted devotee, mahad aparadha. If so, then how did Chitraketu Maharaj develop the propensity to offend Lord Shiva? He was a great devotee, and how could he offend Lord Shiva? This question may come in somebody's mind. Then the offense actually is apparent only, it is not actual offense. So this is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying. And Goddess Parvati cursed Chitraketu Maharaj, and he became a demon, Vritrasura, but still his bhakti remained unaffected. The history of Chitraketu Maharaj is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 6th canto. And this is a very important story, and we should know about this. Actually, Chitraketu Maharaj, because of that anartha, he became a demon. Now, despite possessing unmatched royal opulence, he remained, when he was a king, he was the ruler of the land known as Surasena. Chitraketu Maharaj accepted the hands of 10 million beautiful women in the hope of having a son, but he remained without progeny. He had 1 crore wives. Please remember, there is nothing for us to disbelieve, because it is given in the Shastra, it is given in the Bhagavad Mahapurana. Now what happened, when he was downcast, he was very unhappy. One day, by the desire of the Lord, the great sage Angira Rishi came to his royal palace, and the king revealed his anguish and implored him repeatedly for a son. And Maharshi Angira, he prepared a charu, a special sweet rice used in oblations, and offered it into the sacrificial fire. He then fed the remnants to the principal queen Kritadyuti, saying that this may produce a son who will give the king both happiness and distress. Then he left. And after eating the sweet rice, the queen became pregnant, and in due course of time, she gave birth to a beautiful baby, a boy, and the child began to grow just like a waxing crescent moon. And naturally, King Chitraketu's attachment for Queen Kritadyuti increased. And seeing this, the other queens became stricken with envy and hatred, and they killed the child by feeding him poison. Now the great sage had previously stated that the king would have a child that would cause happiness and distress, and this is what happened. And upon hearing his son's death, Chitraketu Maharaj became overwhelmed with sorrow, and at that time, the supremely merciful Narada Muni, along with Angira Rishi, they arrived, and Narada gave the king a lot of instructions and offered him solace. Nonetheless, it was extremely difficult for the king to understand the teachings of Narada Muni. And finally, those great sages, they summoned the soul from the of the departed child, who tried to pacify the king. And finally, the king got pacified. Now then, he relinquished his kingdom. He became totally detached from the world, and he engaged under the bhajan kriya under the direction of Narada Muni, and achieved the direct audience of Sankarsana, who became very much pleased with him, and he instructed him on the fundamental truths of dharma and jnana. Now the king ascended a divine airplane, and became the ruler of the Vidyadharas, wandering freely in the valleys of Mount Sumeru. Now, one day, what happened, Maharaj Chitraketu, he saw the Lord, that is Mahadev or Sankara, in an assembly of great Munis, Siddhas and Charanas, and with his arm around Parvati, who was seated on his lap. And as Maharaj Chitraketu came closer, he laughed loudly in the presence of Parvati Devi, and he said, just see the situation of the great instructor of Dharma, the Guru of the whole world, Sri Mahadeva. And he said, in such a situation, in such a learned assembly, he has placed his wife on his lap. He is totally shameless. And Lord Shiva, he knew Chitraketu was the dear devotee of the Lord. So he simply smiled and said nothing. But Parvati Devi could not tolerate this Chitraketu's behavior and his ridicule and disrespect. So she cursed him. You will take birth in a most sinful demoniac race. And suddenly, Chitraketu Maharaj, he became a demon, and he was known as Vritrasura. And the story in very great detail, it is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are 4 verses spoken by him. They are very, very important. They are explained in very great detail by Vallabhacharya in his Siddhanta Rahasya of this Vritra Chatusloki. That is what we are saying about Chitraketu Maharaj. Now then, despite being in the body of a demon, Chitraketu, that is Vritrasura, not only remained immersed in the remembrance of Bhagavan, but also achieved direct darsana of the Supreme Lord. And Jiva Goswami quoted the 4 memorable key verses which are given in the 6th canto, 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now the meaning here is that Vritrasura's words reveal his immaculate prema for Bhagavan. He was a premi bhakta. He was the highest type of bhakta. And this way, the account of the killing of Vritrasura is regarded as special within Srimad Bhagavatam. Other Puranas also accept these prayers as uppermost among the features of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Matsya Purana also states that the killing of Vritrasura has been described in the work entitled in the Bhagavat Purana. That is, all these Puranas, they are actually connected. And these 4 verses, they are praised, they are appreciated in the other Puranas also. Now, here we have to see that Chitraketu Maharaj, he did not commit an offense. He was just joking with Mahadev or Shiva, and Lord Shiva, he also understood because Chitraketu Maharaj, he was such a great devotee, but somehow Parvati Devi could not understand. That's why he was cursed. Actually, Chitraketu also could have counter cursed her, but he accepted that curse, and thereafter, later on, there was a fight in which he was killed by Indra. Let us go on to the next slide. Okay, now we'll have a 5 minutes break. Hare Krishna.
You're doing pretty good, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, Prabhuji, so much to discuss here.
Yes,
You know, take all the time you need. In the
Yes.
last 30-minute discussion period, say about 30 minutes, about 10 minutes for me, okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
In the last 30 minutes. But
Yes,
you take
yes.
full portion because so much to talk about, you know.
Yes. One minute left. Thirty seconds left. Welcome back. Now we'll go to the next slide. I'll just change the slide. Now, here we'll see now about Jay and Vijay. Jay and Vijay voluntarily accepted an unfavorable mood toward Bhagavan. Now, this is described in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, describes the story of the four Kumaras headed by Sanaka Muni, cursing the associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha, Jay and Vijay. Although it appears that Jay and Vijay committed aparadha to great souls, it was in truth triggered by their desire to please Bhagavan with their service. Because the Lord, Supreme Lord, he also wanted to fight with somebody. Because as I said, he has got the six opulences. There is nobody who is equal or greater than him. But still then he had that desire. And Jay and Vijay, they wanted to fulfill that desire. That's why they are not at fault. This is just a drama only. This was a Leela only of the Supreme Lord. And they were thinking that everyone gives the Lord of Vaikuntha, Sri Narayana, happiness by serving him. But no one is able to facilitate the all-powerful Sri Narayana testing the mellow combat, Yuddha Rasa. No warrior in the universe is equal to Sri Narayana. We have immense strength, but we cannot help him test the rasa of fighting because our mood is not opposed to him. Without a mood of enmity, it is not possible, they thought. That's why they were favored by the Supreme Lord, and this happened. This story happened because of that only, and that is the reason why Jay and Vijay, they are not at fault at all. Now, next thing we will see. In the next point, to satisfy their desire, Sri Narayana, the wish-fulfilling desire tree of his devotees, inspired the Munis, that is the four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara, to come to Vaikuntha. Solely due to Sri Narayana's inspiration, Jay and Vijay blocked the sages from entering Vaikuntha. As a result, the four sages cursed them to take birth in a race of demons. And by enabling Sri Narayana to test Yuddha Rasa, they considered their lives to be successful. As you know, they went through 3 lifetimes and thereafter they returned to Vaikuntha Loka in their original forms of Jay and Vijay. Now the third point is the transcendental behavior of Bhagavan's eternal associates is inconceivable for the common people. And it is never proper for a sadhaka to imitate it. Now, one should not think that if somebody goes to Vaikuntha, he does not come back, then how Jay and Vijay came back to the material earth, and after 3 lives, they had to go through 3 lifetimes. Now, this is because of this reason. That means it was a Leela only. They were not at fault, and it was not a coming down also. This has to be understood in the story of Jay and Vijay. Next, let us go to the next slide. The sequence in which anarthas arising from impious activities and bhakti, they are vanquished. Now, this portion is very, very important. Please try to understand with a lot of attention. Now, the first point is previously Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur described that the cessation of anarthas take place in 5 successive stages, and that the sadhaka thus gradually becomes free from the most prominent hindrance to bhakti, anarthas arising from aparadha. Now he is describing the sequential freedom from the other types of anarthas. Now, point number 2 is the purport is that the anarthas do not diminish before the stage of bhajan kriya. Adau shraddha tatha sadhu sangha bhajan kriya. Now, nothing finishes, nothing gets dissipated before bhajan kriya. And what type of anarthas they get dissipated at the bhajan kriya, we'll see in the slide, the next slide, that is in the chart form. This will be more clear. Now, anarthas gradually begin to diminish after one takes the practice of bhajana and becomes steadfast. Now, everything does not get dissipated then and there. It takes time. That's why you would have realized in case of Ajamila, since he had no anarthas in that life or in his previous lives, by taking the name of Narayana once only during the name giving ceremony of his 10th son, all his sins got dissipated and he was liberated then and there. But our case is different because we have got anarthas in us also. In our previous lives also we have committed. That's why they are coming as hindrances. Now, if one becomes lax in bhajana, one's anarthas will intensify. So much so that the desire to perform bhajana will disappear altogether. These anarthas, they are so serious that when we are doing bhajana, the desire will go down, and the one stage may come when it will totally disappear, and one will not do any bhajana whatsoever, and that is the worst stage to come. Therefore, the third point in this slide is, it is therefore most essential to remain engaged in bhajana, which is attained after developing faith or shraddha. That's why the Rupa Goswami says, Adau Shraddha. The beginning is Shraddha only. But we have to have 100% Shraddha, not little Shraddha. It is 100% Shraddha. Then only we will be moving in this path correctly. Developing faith, that is Shraddha, and receiving the association of sadhu sangha. Now remember, sadhu sangha is being hinted or given importance everywhere. It is so important, and without such engagement, the cessation of anarthas is impossible, and until one's anarthas are removed, it is entirely futile even to think one can attain Bhagavan. One cannot go anywhere near the Supreme Lord unless one has dissipated his all his anarthas, and this is given very clearly in the slide here. Now, first let us talk about the Duskrutartha or the Sukrutartha. They are the same at the same stage. At Bhajan Kriya, the dissipation is almost complete. Almost complete means it is almost, say, about 95% or so. Any anartha which we have earned because of our past sinful activities or past good karma also or present good karma also. Duskrutartha and Sukrutartha, they are almost complete during Bhajan Kriya. That means we have to do our Bhajan Kriya very sincerely, earnestly, and as per the teachings of the Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas. Now, at what stage it gets the dissipation is complete? At the stage of Nishtha. At the stage of Nishtha and Ruchi, it is complete, and it is absolute at the stage of Asakti. Now, what are these stages? We will be studying them later on in our subsequent classes. What does Ruchi means, Asakti means, Nishtha means, Bhava, Prema, and all that. That we will learn. But we are learning at what stage they get dissipated. And we learn today that we also earn anarthas because of improperly conduct of our in the path of bhakti, bhakti uttha. That is partially when bhajan kriya is done. At the stage of bhajan kriya, it is partial, just 5 to 10% or so, and it is complete in the stage of nishtha and ruchi, and in asakti stage it is absolute. That means everything, duskrutartha, sukrutartha, bhakti artha, all these things, that is completely getting dissipated at the stage of asakti. Now, let us know about the aparadhatva. Why I was telling in the very beginning only that this is the most important, this is most serious, and we should be very careful not to commit any aparadha whatsoever. And if by chance we have committed any aparadha, then we should take remedial action to dissipate them. Now, aparadhatva at bhajan kriya, it is partial. Very little, 5%, 10%, something like this. And at the stage of asakti, it is extensive. At the stage of bhava, it is almost complete. It is not fully complete. It is about say 95% or so. At the stage of prema, it is complete, but still not. It is absolute. It is not absolute. When it is absolute when attaining the Lord's association. Now you see this great, that is the most difficult stage of attaining the Lord's association, and then only it will be absolute. Absolute means there is no chance of its return. So this is the why I have been telling that the anarthas, because of aparadha, they are very serious in nature. Let us go on to the next slide. Now here we learn that Sri Nama Prabhu conceals his power from the offender to the holy name because he is displeased with him, and the offenders do not meet with Yamaraj, but they cannot become purified. They are not purified, but they also do not go to the Yamaraj's abode. Now the Nama Prabhu conceals his power from offenders to the holy name, being displeased by him, just as rising sun dissipates all darkness. Similarly, by uttering the holy name just once, all the sins of living entity which are like an ocean of darkness are destroyed, and all glories to this all auspicious Harinama. Now, please remember that this Harinama is so important, so powerful. It is as powerful as the Supreme Lord Himself, because there is no difference between the name Nama and Nami. This verse is given in the Padyavali, and it is given in very many places. Even Haridas Thakur also has said very clearly, if you take the name of Krishna just once without any aparadha, then all the sins are destroyed. Now, then we learned about Chitraketu Maharaj. Chitraketu said, "O Bhagavan, only direct audience with you destroys all of a person's sins. This is not impossible, because merely by hearing your name once, even a wretched dog-eating outcast is liberated from material existence, just taking the name of the Lord once. But what about those who are taking the Lord's name always? Now, by this calling the name of his son Narayana, that is uttering the semblance of the holy name, that was Nama Bhasa only, all of Ajamila's sins were destroyed. His ignorance, which is the root cause of sin, was also vanquished, and he attained Bhagavan's lotus feet by just taking the name of Lord Narayana once. Then how then can the sequential cessation of anarthas, Ekadesha Vartini, Baudesha Vartini, Prayaki, Purna, Atyantiki, apply to a faithful devotee who accepts initiation from a bona fide spiritual master according to the precepts of Shastra and engage in Harinam Kirtana? One may think we have been initiated, we are taking of the name of the Lord, but how we are affected? Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur then he reconciles the contradiction. He says there is no reason to disbelieve scriptural statements about the glories of Harinama. For an inoffensive person, there are only two steps: chanting the holy name, Namagrahana, and ascending to Vaikuntha Loko, Vaikuntha Arohan. Ajamila had no opportunity to commit any offenses such as blaspheming sadhus. As a result, there was nothing to obstruct the potency of Bhagavan's holy name for illuminating his extensive, inoffensive heart. However, the holy name does not manifest its potency to the offenders. It is to be understood that only reason for this is the iniquity of the aparadhi and the anartha. That's why the learning is we should not ever try to commit any aparadha ever under any circumstances. Now the last slide of today, offenders to name do not meet with Yamaraja, but they cannot become purified. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that even if Nama Aparadha remains in a person who utters the name of the holy name, still Yamaraja and his messengers have no ability to mete out punishment to him. As long as the Namaparadhis, Anarthas are not destroyed, he will not achieve the main fruit of chanting, that is Krishna Prema, and he will never attain Bhagavan. He will, however, become free from the torments of hell meted out by Yamaraja. This has to be understood. Then the next point is those whose bee-like minds greedy to taste the Lord's qualities have been once tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, have performed all types of atonement. Even in dreams, they never see Yamaraja or his servants who carry ropes, not to speak of the hellish planets. Then the third point is those who have a tendency to commit sins on the strength of the holy name. This is the seventh aparadha we have already spoken in the very beginning only. Who actually commit sin are not purified by Yamaraj. Even after a very long time, it is given in Padma Purana, and this statement seems to prove that aparadhis do suffer punishment from Yama. How then can we reconcile this fact in the first conclusion asserted? Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is resolving this. It should be understood that the word Yama in this verse about Namaparadha refers to the divisions of yoga containing Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama like this. And such aparadhas are not purified, aparadhis are not purified if they follow Yama and Niyama for a prolonged period. Offenses to the holy name can be removed only when the holy name is pleased. Then how can the practices of Yama, Niyama and so forth destroy them? Now this is the import of this statement. The word Yama here does not indicate the Yamaraja. This has to be understood. So with this I come to an end of today's class. Now I'll request Charu Prabhuji to say a few words. Actually, this lecture is, this lesson is so long and so many subjects are covered. It is not possible to cover so many things here. That's why in very, very brief, I have presented to you. But before you give your comments or questions, please listen to Charu Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. I was thinking about it, but let's first take the questions. And then the last 10-15 minutes, I would like to explain about 3 or 4 points in this. And then you are absolutely right. This topic is so extensive in a restricted given time allotment. We cannot talk all the things, right? It's absolutely, and you did a wonderful job, but 3 or 4 points I would like to elaborate, but let's take the questions first, because I want to make sure the discussion is more important,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Then in first 15 minutes, we will take the questions. In the last 15 minutes, Charu Prabhuji will be explaining the certain points which are required to be understood by everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. I joined late and also I had some breaks, Prabhu. Today. Prabhu, at one point you said Chitraketu Maharaj has not done the offense. Okay. But he has done a big offense, no, Prabhu. And knowingly he has done that offense. He know the state of Shiva. Okay. And he is Vishwaguru and he know about Parvati as well. It is not that when he's saying that, it doesn't mean that he don't know the state of Shiva and Parvati. So when he laughed loudly, that is an offense, no, Prabhu. You mentioned that it is not an offense. So from whose point it is not offense?
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll explain as explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Actually, the exalted position of Chitraketu Maharaj is understood very clearly by Mahadev, that is Lord Shiva. And as a friend only, he was joking only with Mahadev, and that was understood by him. Otherwise, he is the first one to curse anybody. but he smiled and he kept quiet because a friend sometimes jokes with another friend. That's how Chitraketu Maharaj went interacting with Lord Shiva. It was understood. But Parvati, she is not at that level. That's why she did not understand. She cursed him, but see the greatness of Dhritarashtra, of Chitraketu Maharaj. He had the power to counter curse also, but he did not. He accepted the curse. And if you study the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see how Dhritarashtra he fought with Indra and how he encouraged Indra to kill him because he knew that he would be killed by Indra only. Like this, he is one of the greatest persons ever, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. That this is the reason why Chitraketu Maharaj did not commit an offense. He was just joking with Lord Shiva, and Shiva also knew it. Otherwise, he would have cursed. So this is to be understood in this way, Prabhuji.
Understood, Prabhu. I'm sorry, Prabhu, to extend this further. Okay, see, friend, and that level of joking, even though he's at exalted position, that can be done on one-to-one basis. But he has not done that. He's preaching, he's teaching jnana, he's teaching knowledge about Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Maybe that is what is jnana, right? That at that time he's saying this. He's laughing in front of everyone.
Charu Prabhuji will be answering.
Prasad Prabhuji, you are thinking exactly a most common person think like that, and you are not at fault. In fact, Mata Parvati also could not understand. Mata Parvati also exactly interpreted just the way you are interpreting, because he was laughing loudly, and he said to Lord Shankar, Lord Mahadev, Lord Shiva, that how. Remember two things. Lord Shiva, is giving a discourse on dharma, religion, okay, and the devotional service and things like that. But at the same time, in the assembly of the sadhus, very advanced souls, he was having his wife, his hands on her and sitting on his lap. So apparently anybody would think, just like Mata Parvati. Remember, Mata Parvati also no ordinary soul. Remember, being a consort of Lord Shiva, like personality, she's no ordinary person. But she was also acting as if the ordinary person will interpret that. So what you are interpreting is like an ordinary person. That certainly sounds like an offense. But as Prabhuji was explaining, he was joking because he was interacting directly with Lord Shiva. Okay, so between two friends, he was joking that I cannot understand why, how do you dare to do this kind of behavior in the assembly of sadhus, So he was not criticizing, basically, because remember when someone criticizes, he doesn't laugh. He says in a very serious mood. When he was laughing actually, so it was a clearly joking manner he was doing, and only Lord Shiva could understand. Another important point, remember, Chitraketu was also an ordinary soul. He had a direct darshana of who? Lord Shankarshana. And Lord Shankarshana is the Ishtadev of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is always in the meditation, in dhyana, is of Lord Shankarshana. So both Lord Shiva and Chitraketu, they each interacted on that platform, which is beyond the capacity for an ordinary person like you and me to properly understand. And Mata Parvati cursed him from that point of view only, actually. And Lord Shiva actually said to her that it was not proper for you to curse him, such an advanced soul. And remember, other great thing about Chitraketu, he was so powerful, he could have counter-cursed, but he didn't do that. He so willingly, quietly walked away, willingly accepted the curse, and then took birth as a demon, Vritrasura, as a son of Krishna Rishi. The Krishna's wife was from the demon class. Okay, that's why he developed that. But basically, in those 4 verses that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 24 to 27, that 4 verses are so important. In that 4 verses, he prays to Lord Shankarsana actually, that please, Lord, see that I will never get that kind of pride, and I never forget you, even when I get a demon body. So Lord actually granted that boons to him. In these 4 verses, those are the things that he prays to Lord, that I may never ever forget you, even when I have to take birth in the demon body. So in the body of a demon, he still remain as a great devotee. So that you must understand. In ordinary way, you are absolutely right. It sounds like a great Vaishnava Prada, but he was laughing and he was directly interacting with Shiva, Lord Shiva directly. So between 2 friends were interacting actually. Hare Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes,
Prasad
Prabhu.
Prabhu?
Yeah.
Beyond our capacity. It's beyond our capacity to understand.
Yeah, I think
The
the
2
key.
great souls, Mahadev and Chitraketu, they were interacting with each other.
Yeah, I think he was laughing, and when we really
So when you
criticize
criticize
somebody, you
somebody,
don't
you
laugh.
don't laugh.
Yeah, that
You don't laugh.
yeah, that is underlining fact, bro. I understood what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So nice your explanation. So Prabhuji, can I just, as I was hearing, it comes to me, as you mentioned, Sankarshan is the Ishta Devta of Chitraketu as well as Lord Shiva. Is that correct, Prabhuji?
Correct. Lord
Okay.
Shankarsana.
Yeah, that was the platform. So as I was looking in the background of that, Prabhuji also mentioned yesterday, Chitraketu was instructed on dharma, because when he meets Sankarshan, he instructs on dharma. So these are lila. We understand it's a lila of Sankarshan, because Vrita should to come and Indra and all the pastime has to continue. So that was another part. But if you look at also objectively, so this was how you see that instruction, because Sankarshan instruct Chitraketu on dharma, and what he saw that Chitraketu overwhelmed with that, because this was a dharma, like Lord Shiva putting his wife on the lap and instructing his ganas. Everybody was there. It was just not a casual sitting, but that is where that Lord Shiva was instructing his ganas. Like there was everyone there, Nandi and all of the devotees of Shiva was there. So in that assembly, he's looking, there's a multiple way how the Lord interacts with this. So the dharma comes into picture, and he may be thinking in his mind as a dharma, this is against the dharma, and maybe that could be the reason. That can we see in another perspective, look into that way, Chitraketu's thinking?
No, he was saying that in the assembly of dharma, and Lord Shiva was actually talking about dharma, religious principles. So in that way, he was saying that. But see, this is the way, as I told you, this is beyond the capacity of ordinary souls like you and me, and Mata Parvati also acting as if you and me. Remember, she is the Prakriti Devi.
Yes.
Prakriti means material world, material sense. She is a goddess, but she was acting in that capacity. So in that capacity, it sounds really wrong, not proper to talk religious things and having your wife in your lap. But he was not having his wife as a husband-wife like that thing. That as a loving devotee, he was having Mata Parvati in his lap and he was talking about dharma. But Mata Parvati reacted as if an ordinary soul would react. Just like Prasad Prabhu, you and me are talking like that. But this was directly interaction between Mahadev, Lord Shiva, and Chitraketu, 2 great souls whose Ishtadev is same, Lord Shankarsana. Okay, so in that regard, we have to think beyond that.
So that way we can say, because Ishdev is same, so there was no aparad, virtue,
No, there was no aparad.
aparad. That is the
There was no aparad, no. That's exactly the conclusion. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that he did not commit any offense whatsoever. So
Yeah.
now because so much other things also we need to talk about. Let's move on.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Any other question or comments? Actually, there are so many things to discuss. Why Lord Shiva was doing, I will not discuss now. How it is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam very, very clearly. There is no time. We'll talk in some other time.
Lord Shiva actually explains to Mata Parvati in that discourse,
Yes, yes. So any other question?
Now, I really want to encourage everyone to ask. There are so many questions should be popping out in your mind,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. So wonderful class, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
May I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, audible. Please.
Okay, Prabhuji, अगर अपराध के कारण अगर हमारा भाव चला जाता है, एक स्लाइड में ऐसा आया है कि हमारे भाव चले जाते, तो अगर एक बार ऐसा हो जाते तो फिर वापस भाव आ सकता है प्रभुजी कि कंप्लीट डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा?
Yes, you see, everyone finally has to go back to the spiritual world, and the Lord has planned like that. If because of some aparadha it goes away, it will also come, but we should keep on working toward that. We should not leave that. We should follow what has been told to us, take the name of the Lord and satisfy the Lord, and that stage will come. There is no problem in that. But at Bhava stage also people may fall down like Bharat Maharaj. There are so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it can come back. There is no problem about it.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this is regarding yesterday's class, as you said that the prasadam of demigods should be not, the remnants of the demigods should not be taken. So when this was actually bothering me the whole night, Prabhuji, when you go to a certain region, like if you go to Varanasi, it is for Lord Shiva only, and if ultimately Lord Shiva or the other demigods, these are very, very elevated personalities, and they are helping Lord in his work. They are the associates and they are helping Lord. So if won't the Lord get offended if we do not accept the prasadam, and if we take the prasadam with the intention of without any desires, just out of respect, is that also an offense? Please guide.
Okay, what is the teaching in the ISKCON and for the Vaishnavas? They should not take they should not accept the prasada of any demigod. In this respect, we were talking yesterday. And as far as Lord Shiva, also I have said, he is also considered a demigod. That's why his prasada also should not be taken. But there is an exception. It is given in the Shastra. I have got the book also. In case of here in Bhubaneswar, there is a temple known as Lingaraj temple. And the story also given in Srimad Bhagavatam, how Lord Shiva, he fled from Kasi and came and took shelter here. Now, anything which is offered to Lord Lingaraj, his prasad can be taken. This is what is to be understood. And if we do not accept the prasad, it is not an offense at all, because they also understand. And this is what is the injunction given in our parampara. It is given in our system. We should follow that. That is what is to be done. No disrespect to anybody. Like not worshipping the demigods. There is no requirement to worship any demigod, because when you worship Krishna, all are worshipped because all are inside in Krishna only. It has to be understood that way. And when you worship Krishna, the demigods, they are very, very happy. They do not want separate worship from you. So that is to be understood in that perspective, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
If there are no questions, then I will request Charu Prabhuji to give his the observations or points.
Are you sure? No other questions? Hare Krishna. Please feel free to ask, okay? I can talk in the next class also, but I want you to ask questions. Everyone.
Hare Krishna,
Uh,
Prabhuji. Please
Yes,
accept my
Mataji. Yes, Lalita Priya Mataji.
Namaste.
And Nitya Sakhi Mataji is there today?
Yes, she is there.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure she also must have questions.
So it looks like it's a long way to get the anarthas, you get rid of the complete anarthas 100%. It's like taking 100 marks out of 100 in mathematics, kind of a thing. So it's a long way for me, at least. And
You cannot go to the prema stage unless until you become free from all these anarthas.
it's like a catch-22 situation, Prabhuji, for me,
Yes.
from what I understand.
You put it exactly right. You hit the head of the nail right there. It's a vicious cycle, actually. You know. Okay, Mataji, go ahead, please ask your question.
So, of all these things that we saw in all of the slides in today's class, what one, I mean, the path we are there is correct, but the methodology, like how we like go one step, two, step three, boom, 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 and we get to step 10 and we get 100% out of it. So I'm just wondering, like, you go this way or that way, a little bit, you look at the side, it's a problem.
Mataji, have you, I don't know, when I was a little child, I used to play this board game, Snake and Ladder. Are you familiar with that game?
Yes,
Snake and Ladder?
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. I used to play too.
You can go all the way to the 99th step, and then there's a snake, come back to the second stage.
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
this is what happens in bhakti like that. It can demolish, Okay, Mataji, that was your question, right?
Yeah, I'm even more worried now, knowing all of these facts. Before, at least I was
Don't let this discourage you. But it helps us to be careful about it. That's what the point is here. Any other point, Mr. Nitya Sakhi Mataji, you have some point?
No.
Okay, let me then talk about it.
Hare
Okay?
Krishna, Prabhuji, I have one point to tell.
अच्छा, हाँ जी, बोलिए.
प्रभुजी, भक्ति है हमें जो सेंटिमेंट पे होती है, हमारा भाव होता है, मगर सिर्फ भाव भी नहीं चलेगा और नॉलेज भी होता है, तो सिर्फ नॉलेज भी नहीं चलेगा. तो भक्ति में हमें सेंटिमेंट प्लस नॉलेज, तो हमारी सक्सेस हो सकती है. सिर्फ सेंटिमेंट रहेंगे तो कोई आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे, और सिर्फ नॉलेज होगा तो भी नहीं आगे बढ़ पाएंगे. वो सही है?
नहीं रक्षा माता जी, आपने सुना है ना कि भक्ति, ज्ञान and vairagya are actually the sons of bhakti. You don't need to endeavor separately, independently for jnana or vairagya. If you focus on bhakti itself, the jnana and vairagya automatically comes from it, and that jnana is the one that we want, not the speculative kind of knowledge that we don't want.
Yes,
Remember,
I'm thinking about this jnana only, bhakti related jnana only, Prabhu.
तो भक्ति आएगी, भक्ति में फोकस करेंगे, हम ठीक तरह से भक्ति करेंगे, तो ज्ञान जो परम ज्ञान है वो ऑटोमेटिक भगवान दे देते हैं. तेषाम सतत क्या वर्ष क्या है, 50,000 बोलता हूँ मैं. तेषाम ददामि बुद्धि योगम तम येन माम उपयन्ति ते. सो भगवान खुद दे देते हैं वो ज्ञान. उनके पास कैसे हम पहुंच सकते हैं? वो ज्ञान भगवत तत्व विज्ञानम, science of Krishna, that is the knowledge we need, that, and that Krishna will provide if we render pure loving devotional service to Bhagavan. यही आपका प्रश्न था ना रक्षा जी?
हाँ, yes Prabhu ji, yes sir. Thank you so much.
So since the time is only 5 minutes left, I'm going to focus. I thought of first talking about 5 points, but I'll talk about a couple points now. देखिए ये I think I better speak English so everybody can understand. Remember, we have been taught by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti there are 4 kinds of apradhas and the 5 ways, 5 stages in which that can be abolished, right? So first 2-3 kinds that is already talked about it, but the 4th kind he focuses in this particular chapter that is coming from bhakti utta, right? Now bhakti utta, from that development of bhakti itself, and says imperfect way of rendering bhakti. What really does it mean actually? Imperfect means not just the seva apradha. Seva apradha could be there, but here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is focusing on more important, more intense importance is this coming from bhakti itself, the anartha come, is this what is called, which is what he calls as a upashaka. Upashaka means, shaka means branches to a tree. Now we are talking about the vriksha tree of Bhakti Lata, right? And whose seed is Navada Bhakti. So, and how could from Navada Bhakti this kind of undesirable apradhas we could be committing, like the one wealth, adoration, and recognition, right? That is the wealth is not just monetary wealth. Wealth could be so many different kinds, like having a good look, very impressive personality, okay, charming personality, great oratory skills, and so on like that. That could be also wealth. Kanch, Kamini, Pratishta. The second thing is this Kamini, the great sexual impulse. That is also very, very difficult to go, But the third kind, these are still a gross way. But the subtle way, the most difficult to go is this Pratishta, the great hunger for recognition. Oh, I give such a wonderful class. Why my audience is not recognizing me? I should be really glorified and given tremendous recognition. That is very, very hard to go. Sometimes in a subtle way that remains. So these are the things coming from bhakti. And that is why Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls us Upashaka. Now the question may arise in your mind, everybody's mind, how Upashaka means it is same seed. Seed is Navada Bhakti. How Navada Bhakti itself, it's a Bhakti solves these problems. But the same time, Bhakti gives birth to this kind of anarthas also. Very difficult to digest. See, remember, when the plant is growing, we know the weeds, we have to be very careful, right? Weeds. But weeds, they are not coming from the same seed. The Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed is what Navada Bhakti, DNA of Navada Bhakti. So everything that is developed from it, it has to have a same character. Okay? But here the weed-like character, one would imagine must be a separate kind of plant that is growing along with it, which will consume. And remember, the weeds grow much faster than the main plant. So weed will consume all the water, fertilizer, everything will suck up that for its own growth at the expense of the main plant, right? But here we have been seeing that is coming itself from Navada Bhakti Bij. And because why? Bhakti itself is giving that kind of apradhas. The great pride, false pride develops that I must be recognized, that I'm a great, great devotee. I have a great, such a wonderful, wonderful talents, oratory skills to explain most difficult part and in the easiest understanding way. So I should be recognized. So it is coming from bhakti. The DNA of bhakti itself is coming from these undesirable elements. That's why it is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti calls Upashaka. So I hope you understand that. And the only way to get rid of that is again you take shelter of bhakti. And what is bhakti? Means the chanting of the holy name. So the first thing that develops when you come to bhakti platform, what does the first thing develops? Daine bhav, right? The great humility. That's the first thing to develop. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, 13th chapter, text 20 or so, first of the 20 qualities developed is this great humility. But when you develop that kind of false pride, the first thing to go away, that first thing that came, but also the first thing to go away is humility. Immediately you think, oh, I have these great talents, is because of my own ability. I'm a great speaker. I'm a great orator. Look how handsome I look. Look how charming personality I have. But he forgets the great education that I have. But he forgets that all this thing came not because of him, but it came from Sri Krishna himself. He is the one who gave me that thing. And I ought to be utilize that thing for his purpose, so that Daine Bhav disappears. And that is the terrible thing. So that snake and ladder I was talking about, you make great progress. Even when you come to the Bhava stage, you can still fall down back to stage number 2. Look at Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj had reached to Bhava stage, and he fell down from Bhava stage also because of that. So that is why it's very important elements. And I have to mention three or four more points are there. And I hope I get an opportunity in the tomorrow's lesson when it begins. Hopefully that time, if we get more time, I will talk about it, because there are 3 more important points like this one. Okay. I also want to talk about, if you can get 2 more minutes, okay? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually,
I think I'll talk tomorrow.
but,
So we are time up. I think let's Saga Prabhu. We are approaching towards the end, so let's conclude the class. But these 3 points I want to talk 3 points. Let's talk tomorrow, okay? Because they are very important points. In hurriedly, you cannot talk about like that. Hare Krishna, Saga Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obsession. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhai. Namaste Narasimhai. Praladaladahi. Praladaladahi. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Shilatankar Nathali. Shilatankar Nathali. Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ito Yami, Ito Narsingha, Ito Yami, Ito Narsingha, by Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, by Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Narasingha Madin Sharanam Prapade, Narasingha Madin Sharanam Prapade. Akal Kamala Bhare Nakhadbhuta Singham Dhalita Hiranyakashipur Tanu Bringam Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Akal Kamala Bhare Nakhadbhuta Singham Dhalita Hiranyakashipur Tanu Bringam Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare. Nrsimhadev Bhavan ki jai. Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Charu Prabhu ki jai, Sarad Prabhu ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, all assembled devotee ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Charu Prabhu, Sarad Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Tomorrow's class is a little shorter. That's why we'll have, I'll be able to finish 15-20 minutes before. That means about 45-50 minutes we'll have for question answer session. Those who have not been able to ask questions today, please ask them tomorrow so that everything should be clarified. And Charu Prabhuji, he will be discussing other important points which could not be covered today because of time constraint. Thank you very much.
The chart was very important, So what I'm going to try to make the chart a little bit differently to explain the chart better, because the chart
Yes.
is the exact summary of the entire lesson actually, The chapter
Yes.
summary is given in the chart. So maybe I'm going to prepare the chart a little bit differently,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. And we'll see tomorrow on lesson 16 in this series. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dhanush Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna to all devotees.
Never ever forget, everything what we have is given to us by Krishna. And we should utilize for his service. And that humility, when that goes, everything goes away, That humility is very, very important element. Hare Krishna.